Hello, and welcome to the Digital Workspace Works podcast. I'm Ryan Purvis, your host, supported by our producer Heather Bicknell. In this series, you'll hear stories and opinions from experts in the field, stories from the front lines, the problems they face and how they solve them, the areas they focused on from technology, people and processes, to the approaches they took that will help you to get to the grips with the digital workspace inner workings.
I'm currently forcing myself to read Dune.
Oh, I just read Dune.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. And how you find it?
I liked it. Of course, there's the new movie coming out. So,
okay. Yeah.
You didn't know. Yeah, there's it has some who does it have in it? It has a few famous actors. Timothée Chalamet is Paul.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the Duke is played by, what's his name? Oscar Isaac, the guy from Star Wars.
Yeah.
And the more recent Star Wars. What's his name in that series? I'm already losing it, but.
The series or the movies?
The movies.
Chris Pine? Or Zachariah Quinto? Let's just do the good old Google it.
Yeah, I know. Like I should know that, but it's been a while since I've seen the newer Star Wars.
So.
Poe. He's Poe.
Oh, Poe. You think of Star Wars, not Star Trek?
Yeah.
Sorry,
That's probably why you lost it.
I was thinking Star Trek. So. Dave Bautista's in this. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it looks decent. So they haven't released a trailer yet. But anyway, I knew, that I'd probably be seeing the movie. So I always like to try to read the book first. So.
Well, I didn't even know they were making the movie again, but that's great because Jason Momoa as Duncan Idaho actually is perfect.
Yeah.
Stellan Skarsgård as Baron Vladimir Harkonnen. I can also imagine that perfectly. So, yeah, that's pretty good so far.
Have you seen the David Lynch movie, the older Dune movie?
I remember trying to watch it as a kid, or when I was a kid but younger.
Yeah.
And it lasted about 5 minutes.
I wouldn't recommend it. So you can feel free to skip that one.
Well, I'll be honest. What got me to read it was, two things. One, it came up on a few podcasts where some people recommended reading it. I think Tim Ferriss was probably the last person, if I remember correctly. And then I used to play the game a lot. I always said to myself, if I've been playing the game, it's so well, good, but it was good at the time. I must read this book at some point. And it sort of came up, and as I say, it came up recently. I thought, okay, I've just finished a book. Let me try. And it was not being bad. I finished the sort of part one where Paul and his mom are in the desert, and now it's going to start the next piece. So
yeah,
that's okay. I try to watch it on Amazon Prime. There's a series called Dune. I think it's Children of Dune, which is a bit later on. So I've stopped watching that because it makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I think it really picks up in the maybe third section, but it definitely things start moving and accelerating and.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just the language that's used, but I found the language really weird. And I can't think of one example right now, but it just like thopter. For helicopter or whatever they try, but it just feels weird every time I read it. I'm thinking, what's the apostrophe supposed to? What are you not saying that this thing, orthopter or whatever it is? Just every time I read it, I'm like, can we read that sentence because it makes sense?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of terminology and political allegiances and all of that to figure out in the beginning. So, yeah, we have some exciting news today. We've announced the launch of our new Digital Workspace Works Slack community. Do you want to tell people how they can join that, Ryan, and what's it all for?
Yeah, sure. So we've got the link will obviously be in the show notes. So we've put this together to make this more interactive. And as I sent in a mail out when we did this, I mean, it is a little bit off the cuff. Sort of, we had a chat and we just sort of released it to the wild. But the idea is one, it makes it more interactive for everybody. We didn't want this to be a one-way sort of community where we just talk every week and those that listen to us just hear from us. We actually wanted it to be bi-directional. So this is an opportunity to do that. We've also set up some channels with different topics that we think are relevant, and we obviously will relook at this at a given time. But things like WVD, so Windows Virtual Desktop that Microsoft provides, probably any other providers that come. Unified comms, which is quite a big thing inside the digital workspace, especially now that we're all working from home. Things like remote working, future of work, etc. So it's been quite good. I mean, in the week that we've had it open, we've already got 12, 13 members, and that grew sort of doubled every day for the first, well, I say double, but it increased quite nicely every day with 2 or 3 people to date. And as I say, it's a good place to come and chat. It's where we'll share most of our stuff. I mean, stuff that doesn't necessarily make it to the podcast. I think that's also important. I think at some point we'll probably close it down and make it a restricted group. So I think get in now while it's open. I sort of think 100 people would be ideal, but we'll see how we go. And that's it. I think come join us. If it's one place to give us feedback that's a little bit easier than email. I think email is getting lost in the minutia. So at least in this channel, we can see it, we can flag it, and we can use it as a way to steer this podcast in the direction people want it to go.
Yeah, no, it's exciting stuff. And I know, Ryan, you've already been sharing some cool articles there. There's been some discussion going, and we even have a few interesting channels, like one for a potential book club or other sort of ways to interact and not just chat. So there's a few things there that people can check out.
Yeah, I think the book club is actually a really good one, because that's something that I read a lot, and I'm sure you do too, but finding something to read and also reading something, well, actually having to read a book that someone else has read and just get the cliff notes. Why would I want to read this book would be, that's hugely valuable. Exciting. I'm waiting for someone else to post in there. So far I've put 2 books in and no one else has just replied. So
okay.
And so we'll see how that goes. Then we've also aggregated some RSS feeds that we think are interesting. So that's a nice place to sort of see it in the channel, and while you're interacting, you can share your views and get other people to comment as well.
Yeah. Cool stuff. So people can, again, just check that out in the episode notes and click on the link and meet us there. So Ryan, I haven't asked about this yet, but I'm seeing it. So I'm seeing your new desk workstation setup. How are you liking it so far, the standing desk? It's
been on my list to catch up with you on this. So it's been good. I'm having a little challenge, which I guess is kind of ironic. I can't get my desk to lower.
Oh.
So it's got this, and I'm going to take a video of it now and log a support call, but some days it'll go all the way down. I've got like 3 memory settings. I can have seated, sort of coffee table, chat level, which is what I'm doing now. And then I've got one that's even higher, which is almost like just to chat. So I can sort of sit with my arms a bit higher. And what happens is it kind of gets stuck at one of those 2 levels. And then every time you try to go down, it thinks it's going to hit something, so it comes up. So you never really get back down all the time. So often because there's definitely a state in your brain when you want to do something that's really thought intensive, that you want to sit down and do it. And it's obviously to take cognitive load off your brain while you're thinking. And that's where it gets frustrating, because I want to write a document, or I want to write some code or something, and I really want to get stuck into it. And I'm like, okay, let's lower the desk. And the desk goes, no, I'm coming back up again. Sorry. So that's been a little bit irritating, but I'll see if that's just maybe I've got too many cables hanging off the end, because I haven't done the cabling properly yet. But other than that, I'm really enjoying it, because I've put 2 24-inch widescreen monitors up instead of having a laptop and a screen. And I put a light on for the camera, and I moved the camera position from being a laptop camera or on top of the monitor to actually be a little bit more central. So I'm quite enjoying that. And obviously a bit more space on my desk. And I think I took a picture and I put it in one of the channels, so I can always share that as well. But I think it's the way forward. I'm quite enjoying standing. I've noticed my back pain has gone down to almost 0. It's more now from when I pick up my son as opposed to sitting all day. So I would definitely recommend it if anyone's thinking about it.
No, is it the IKEA one that you went with, or is it a?
No, I bought a Flexi Flexi Spot. The reason why I didn't go with IKEA in the end is when I looked at them again, they didn't. I mean, the app was the only difference, and I didn't really think I needed an app-controlled standing desk. And also price-wise, I got this one for about $100 cheaper. And I went for a slightly smaller one. I could have gone bigger. I went 140 centimeters. You can go sort of 160. 140 is actually fine. And that was the other thing. It was a bit bigger than I actually thought I needed, which has actually worked out. So yeah, this has actually been not bad. It took me a good hour and a half to build it. And I don't understand why instructions have to be so, like, I don't know if you've seen this, but the instructions you get nowadays when you have to build something are so condensed that they give you like a one-pager when you spend the extra money and use 2 pages. You're clearer on your instructions, because I really struggled to get the sensor in until I actually realized that the instruction, the way I was interpreting the instruction, there was a piece missing where you actually had to flip it upside down and put it in. But the way the drawing's done is they haven't dotted the lines, so you don't see that it's actually upside down. You see it as on top, and it's it's just bad drawing. I had an industrial arts teacher who was very adamant about dotted lines and solid lines and that kind of stuff, and he would have definitely had a few things to say. But yeah, once it was built, been very happy. Definitely recommend it. Got some, as I say, the 2 screens up is great. I was very tempted to go one big screen, which I know is kind of the fashion now. You sort of get this big curved screen.
Yeah.
But I'm tempted at the moment they're both horizontal, but I'm thinking of turning one vertical. And to do, use one for reading stuff and one for main work. So I'm going to give this 2 weeks, and then I'm going to manipulate it and see where it goes.
Well, it's exciting to be on that refreshed office journey. I can't wait to join you on it as soon as I start evaluating new desk options and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess having the 2 screens is nice, because if you have, I know Ben Murphy has a huge monitor. Yeah. And his screen sharing is always super wonky because of that. And then you have to worry about resolutions for that kind of thing. So.
And that's exactly the debate I had before I got, so these are my work ones that there was someone else's screen that I'm not going to use, so I'm using it. Mm-hmm. And it was the debate, do I go and get this big fancy screen, or just try 2 screens, see how it goes, and then if it really works, then I'll look at a big screen. But actually, I quite like having left-hand side is typically stuff I'm working on. Right-hand side in my laptop are typically things that I need while I'm doing that. So if I'm referencing another document or referencing something I'm looking at or whatever it is, I kind of go left to right and have zones for attention, which has been working quite well. The other thing I've been doing since I've been doing this is I've been tracking my time. So what am I spending my time on? What project, what work am I doing, etc. And that's been very interesting, because one of the things that I found, and I don't know if you felt the same, is because you weren't commuting, you were working longer hours.
Definitely, yeah.
And not necessarily doing the right work at the right time, if that makes any sense. So I've been working on that, and that's been quite cool, especially with managing the household, because Kirsten being so heavily pregnant, basically I'm a single parent plus single worker. So just making sure that I do my sort of 6 to 8 hours a day, as opposed to completely missing stuff. And I mean, you have days where you do 12 hours, and you have days where you do 2 hours, but at least I'm aware of now where I'm spending my time on which days and which days work better for different things. So yeah, it's been interesting as well.
Are you just jotting that down, or do you have an app or something that you're using?
No, I've got an app. It's called Toggle. It's quite popular. I use it for 2 reasons. One, the reason I initially thought I'd use it is because it could track your calendar, and then you can pick the meetings you've been in, but it doesn't seem to, I can't get that to work at the moment. So it might have been another app that did that. But the other reason is obviously you've got a mobile app as well. So sometimes I forget to turn the timer off. And I can turn it off when I go downstairs from the app. And it also keeps track of if you're idle, it tells you you've been idle and do you want to keep that time and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's quite good. Very nice, simple interface. I don't think I'm paying for it yet. I think you only pay for it if you've got a team, so good for a single user. And And yeah, it's quite nice that if I do, like I was working on something today in 4 different times of the day, I just go click the same task again and it restarts the timer on that task, but it's a new task now. But then it aggregates that quite nicely. So I've spent 6 hours working on an activity, but I've worked on it an hour here, an hour there, 50 minutes there, 5 minutes there, and it's just aggregated that together, which I quite like. So yeah, good tool. Definitely impressed with it.
Yeah, that sounds nice. I'll have to try it out because I use a lot of lists and and jotting down sometimes even, items that I've done because I juggle a lot of projects. So that's just like necessary to keep it all straight. But having an app do some of that work for me would probably be helpful.
Well, this is, it's task level or project level. So it's not task level, but you can tag things. So for example, I've had a lot of issues with Windows 10 this week again. My mouse for some reason just disconnects. So I've been logging how much time I spend in diagnosing this problem. But then I've had other issues. So I've basically got what I call it diagnostics. And then I've got tags to say mouse, keyboard. There was this issue with the screens the other day. So now I'm starting to see a pattern about how much time am I wasting because I'm trying to justify in my head, do I actually move completely off Windows?
Oh.
And I'm thinking, if it gets to a certain point, and I haven't reached what that number is, but if I'm going to invest, let's say 2 days in troubleshooting a month, then I'd rather spend 2 days a month learning Linux.
Yeah.
And figuring that stuff out. Because, Windows 10 is just not great. Not the version I've got, at least. Maybe everyone else has a better experience.
I like that you've built in your own sort of productivity tracking, your own personal end user experience tracker.
Well, yeah, when you've got limited time like I do, and I don't have it, I'm supposed to be a technology person, so I can't necessarily go and ask someone else to come fix my problems for me. But when you're burning 2 days a week and you don't have 2 days a week or 2 days a month, it's very frustrating. And, if I look at my iPad experience, I don't have problems on there. I don't. Everything works, except for the Microsoft stuff. Outlook keeps resetting, losing all my email accounts on my iPad, which I don't know why that is. So it's tricky. But I'm feeling like this move to Linux is going to be happening probably early next year.
That will be an interesting journey in and of itself.
Well, I am tempted to go back to fully Apple, because I was like that for about a year. The only reason I went back to Windows was I had to write some code, which I can now probably, once I build the WWD environment, I probably don't need to carry a desktop anymore. Well, Windows laptop at least. So that's what I'm mulling over. I'm actually going to give this WWD thing a go. I was planning to do it last week and didn't get there, but thankfully I didn't because I just launched the quick start stuff. Which would have meant I would have been very frustrated if I started and then the quick start thing was launched a week later and gone, I should have just waited for that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. That's my thinking at the moment.
Yeah, well, it'll be exciting to see where you go there. I know. Do you need to hop soon?
I do need to go. Yeah. Okay. But we can finish off one last thought if you want.
I guess I also wanted to remind everyone again about the Slack community and to join through the link and, check it out and catch up with us there. And it's going to be a good time. Yeah,
I was actually thinking we probably need to update our end of episode track to do that as well. Well, actually, that probably needs a redo at some point anyway. That and redoing our logo. So that'll change things as well. Cool.
Good stuff.
Leave it there.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. Heather Bicknell is our producer and editor. Thank you, Heather, for your hard work on this episode. Please subscribe to the series and rate us on iTunes or the Google Play Store. Follow us on Twitter at the DWW Podcast. The show notes and transcripts will be available on the website www.digitalworkspace.works. Please also visit our website www.digitalworkspace.works and subscribe to our newsletter. And lastly, if you found this episode useful, please share with your friends or colleagues.